In the last few years, the whole core of what a smartphone means to me has changed. In one sense, a lot of the excitement about new phone launches has worn off, while in another, I've never been so invested in my phone and how tightly integrated it is into my everyday life. Let me explain. 10 years ago, 2010-ish, Symbian OS and Nokia, the original dominant force in smartphones, were on their last legs. Apple and iOS were maturing rapidly from the gadget-starved first iPhone back in 2007, and Samsung, HTC and other Android manufacturers were producing genuine innovations year on year. Each launch had a jaw-dropping "I want that" moment, a wow moment, and year-on-year convergence became complete. By about 2012, we had GPS that was good enough for 99% of users and locations. By 2014, we had displays that were patently good enough in 99% of light conditions for 99% of users. By about 2016, we had phone cameras that were patently good enough for 99% of uses. By 2018, we had phone speakers that were patently loud enough for most uses, and often stereo. But despite experiments with folding screens, pop-up and periscope cameras, the drive to give up currently working hardware and buy something new has never been so low. My 3-year-old Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus here, my main Android handset, is still fast, smooth, updated monthly, and in fact arguably has more features than 2021 flagships: biosensors, 3.5mm jack, micro SD, instant fingerprint, etc. So there's zero incentive to switch this. Now, we've talked for years about whether smartphones are plateauing, and while the answer is usually no, until folding phones become completely mainstream, the improvement curve has been clearly flattening for years. Any iPhone from the last 4 years or Android handset from the last 3 will do the job for you or I, if we're honest. Which is just as well, since moving everything from one phone to the other is still a right pain. Now, 15 years ago, the pain point was the physical transfer of the basics, contacts, calendar and so on. 10 years ago, we had Cloud Sync, thankfully, and PIM stuff was a doddle. And the pain point then was getting all one's media, music and videos and general stuff over from one phone to the other, usually juggling via a PC or with or without a micro SD card. These days, PIM and media are sorted, the latter usually because it's all streamed anyway. And the pain point now is the sheer number of things we're signed into. Now, some are handled by the phone OS, but many are not, and the most important are all protected by two-factor authentication, which has to be entered per service or app, and that's assuming your authenticator is now fully set up on the new device. Cloud documents, PayPal, online banking, Amazon, Spotify, browser cookies for your top 20 sites, IoT cameras, the list goes on. Their cookies and authorizations can't make it across from backups, online or local, so all have to be set up and established again. Then there's your beautifully curated home screen setup with folders, icon placements and widgets. If you're going iPhone to iPhone, then you'll get most of this back. Android to Android, well, it's a, as they say, crapshoot. You'll usually get most of your third-party apps reinstalled, but home screen setup will probably have to be done again. So let's hope you have the predecessor device to refer to. The setup time for a new smartphone is still only an hour or two, start to finish of intense activity if you know what you're doing. But it's a pain if you have to do this too often, which is why most reviewers, including me, actually test new smartphones with a second or third SIM and a test Apple or Google account, and don't necessarily have everything installed. It's just not practical to do all of this once a week, once a fortnight, or even once a month. Life's too short. But my insight here is that the value in your smartphone right now, in your hands, lies in the set of information, authorizations, cookies, tokens, accounts within it. The hardware, a good screen, good camera, networking, speakers and so on, are all assumed, not least because you wouldn't have picked that phone in the first place if you hadn't been happy with it. The real value in your phone is in the bits and bytes in its internal non-volatile storage, the state which sets this phone apart from your wife's or cousin Fred's. Home screen setup is just a small part of this, and we all know how alien it feels to pick up someone else's phone and think, where the flippin' heck is everything? Scale that up to all the personal services you're signed and allowed into, and that's the real magic of a smartphone. That's the real value. So when you see the next shiny new thing being announced with an incremental or decremental, given the way Samsung's going, improvement on last year's model, remember, it's not really the chips, the sensors, the antennae that make up your phone. It's your data, your ID, your preferences, encoded into the ones and noughts.